What is going on, gang? Welcome to the Hali Tiki Room. My name is Devin. This is Recliner Sports, and we are live with Habs After Dark. Well, here we are. 3-2 overtime loss to the Utah Hockey Club. A bit of a confusing game, I think. I think we're probably going to have different opinions from different people about that game. I'll be interested to see what you guys all thought about it. To me, it was kind of shades of last year. Obviously the glaring problem tonight was shots on goal. The Canadiens were grossly outshot, 29-13. I guess 29 isn't a huge number to allow against. However, only getting 13 shots on goal is a problem, and it's becoming a bit of a trend for this team where they don't get a lot of shots on goal. They don't hit the net. They take a lot of shots, but they miss the net more often than not. And I think that certainly was evident in the first period early on, in particular with Cole Caulfield, who I thought had a very good game. However, he didn't get to take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to him. I want to try something here, guys. Let me just see if I can. Okay, so I can do this. Can you guys see that when I put that on the screen, when I put that comment on the screen like that? So an overtime loss is obviously disappointing. In its own way, it's more disappointing. In one way, it's better than a regular loss because you get a point out of it at least. This was, an issue that the team faced quite a bit last year. But there was a lot more at play here tonight. I thought the refereeing again was atrocious. I still am baffled by these automatic penalties we have in the NHL and how they're called, where the Montreal Canadiens player gets called for, who was it? Jack gets interference in the first period. Evans gets interference, and these, the Jack one, probably a good call. The Evans one, I have no idea what the call was. Newhook in the second period gets called for holding because of this, this idea that we now have that if your arm comes off or your hand comes off your stick and you put it on the opposing player, it's automatically a holding. But meanwhile, the Utah player can completely bear hug a Canadiens player in the corner who doesn't have the puck, and there's no call. Ian Cole can pitchfork Jake Evans, like literally pitchfork him, take his stick and drive it up between his legs with all of his might in front of the net. And that's not a penalty in the NHL anymore. So David Savard, to his credit or not, depending on how you want to look at it, I guess, decided to tell Trevor Hansen, one of the referees, about it tonight. Trevor Hansen was the one who called all of those penalties in the first period. And Trevor Hansen was so distraught at the idea that the assistant captain of the Montreal Canadiens would tell him how terrible of a referee he was that he gave David Savard a 10-minute misconduct. What a bitch, right? Like, these referees walk around like they're, they own the game. They're the most important people on the ice. And then when somebody has the nerve to tell them or to speak back to them. And David Savard is not a guy who, he wasn't up and down screaming and yelling. He was angry, but, if you watched it, he wasn't, making a fool. He wasn't showing up the referee. He wasn't doing anything for Trevor Hansen and his soft sensibilities to get upset about. But again, Hansen had to assert his authority and show that he was the boss in front of everybody so that he could, be the big bad tough guy. And frankly, I mean, he just looked like a complete fool tonight. He did a terrible job. He didn't earn his paycheck tonight. Again, not uncommon for referees in the NHL. But that's, again, didn't affect the game. I wouldn't say that it affected the game or the outcome of the game. Maybe it did to an extent. I mean, I'm sure that the Canadiens would have been better off without 4 consecutive penalties against them, from the midway point in the first period into the early part of the second period. Hey, Hunter. Hey, Zach. What's going on, guys? Let me know. Fire your questions away if you have any questions, guys. If you have any questions, let me have it. So let's have a quick look at the scorecard or the scoreboard. We'll go to that right away. So as we see here, the Canadiens the Utah Hockey Club 3, Montreal Canadiens 2. There's no scoring in the first period. It's a relatively even period despite the shots. The Canadiens had 3 penalties called against them in that period. So the Utah had 3 power plays. The shots were 14-5 in favor of Utah. The high danger chances were 7-3 in favor of Utah, and the expected goals against were 1.7 to 0.9. I'm not sure why that number's so high. On Money Puck, the number certainly was a lot closer. The second period, Dylan Guenther scores 6:23 into the period. Schmaltz picks up a rebound behind the net. He moves the puck over to Keller, who's on the high wing along the boards, and he makes a really nice cross-ice pass to Keller. From Keller to Guenther, and Guenther, as he's known to do, he has a really fantastic release, one-timer. Right after the Canadiens' fourth consecutive power play against was when that was scored. So just as that penalty ended, Guenther scores that goal. To their credit, Montreal comes right back. Jaden Struble with his second consecutive goal. He scored the last goal in the last game and the first goal in this game. And he ties it all up at 1-1. From Caulfield and Savard at 8:05. You could see that Struble was making a real effort to put pucks on the net. At this point in the game, they didn't have very many shots. They didn't have very many shots throughout the entire game. But Struble was making an effort to put a shot on the net. He got a shot on goal. There's a rebound that ends up behind the net. The puck goes back to the point to David Savard. David Savard switches the puck with Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield gets the puck at the point. He makes a cross-D pass to Struble, and Struble beats Vemelka with a wrist shot. So it's 1-1 after the second period. Third period, the Canadiens come out early in this third period, and Newhook scores a goal from Dvorak and Xhekaj. Dvorak into the neutral zone, passes to Newhook at center ice. Newhook goes into the zone. He loses the puck into the corner. Dvorak picks it up. Dvorak throws it in front of the net. There's a bit of a scramble in front of the net, and Newhook is able to gather the puck and put it in the net. About 4 minutes later, the Utah Hockey Club ties it up on a goal from McBain, assisted by Cooley and Guenther. Guenther's second point of the night at 4:17. A bit of a weak shot, a bit of a ill-advised shot on goal by Kirby Dach. Misses the net wide and ends up clearing the zone. Lane Hudson ends up getting caught up in the zone. He tries to keep the puck in along the boards, misses it, gets caught up in the zone. McBain and Cooley go in on a 2-on-1. Cooley makes a nice pass to McBain, and McBain buries it. And then, of course, in overtime, you have the overtime winning goal. I believe it was Cooley who beat Kirby Dach wide, fed the puck across the crease to Sergachev, and Sergachev just basically had to direct the puck into the net, and there is your final. I believe it was 4:33 of the overtime, the Sergachev goal. High danger chances for the entire game were 16-12. The shots on goal were 29-13. So again, we see that the shot clock maybe didn't reflect the game. While the shot clock was definitely heavily in favor of Utah, the high danger scoring chances certainly were not, and the expected goals were pretty even as well at 3.4 to 2.8. So before we go on to the to look at the A team, let's go back here and let's have a look at the comments so far. What do we have here? Joshua McKinnon. Do you think Doc should spend some time on the farm? I do not. I'm actually, I couldn't be more against that. I don't see the benefit. I don't see how that would help Kirby Dach or the team in any way. Kirby Dach is a player who's struggling with his confidence right now. And so for me, I don't see how punishing him is going to help that, right? It is not a situation where a guy is being lazy or screwing around. He's trying hard. He's just trying to get his confidence back. So, benching him, sending him to the farm. First of all, he can't go to the farm, right? It's not going to happen. He has to clear waivers, and he's not going to clear waivers. So, that's never going to happen. But again, this idea that he needs to be punished somehow is completely. I'm not for it. I wasn't even in favor of him, being put down on the fourth line tonight. I don't believe in that. I don't think it works. I've never really seen it work. I don't know what the rationale behind it is. Yeah. So the answer to your question, Joshua, is absolutely not. I don't believe that would be a decent solution for the Canadiens. You're right, Aiden. Kirby Dach would not pass through waivers. James, I agree. We just had a chat about the refs. I agree with you. They were terrible tonight. They certainly put the Canadiens on the back foot in the first period and set the tone for the game. I thought the Canadiens did okay to stay in the game. But again, they were certainly set backwards a little bit by the referees early on. Do I think Kirby Dach is a good fit in Montreal? This is Daniel McKinnon. I don't know if you're any relation to Joshua McKinnon. Do I think he's a good fit in Montreal? I do. I think there's definitely a spot in Montreal for him. Obviously, he's struggling at the moment, and he needs to be better. He needs to, improve. He has to, find his old form. But I think that's something that will come eventually. We know he's a good hockey player. We've seen it from him. Obviously, that knee injury might have, an impact on him, but I don't think it's the kind of impact that has, diminished his abilities or his skills, right? So I think it's more of a matter of him, finding his way, getting back to his old self, getting some confidence, and I think I think he's fine. I mean, again, people are panicking because, he hasn't come back from his injury as quickly as they had hoped he would. But I guess that's kind of what Canadiens fans do a little bit, is they like to panic and sort of freak out a little bit. So let's, who do we got here next? Montreal needs more shots on net. This is the second game that they don't hardly get any shots on net. I agree, Frank. Again, I don't think it's a matter of them not getting shot opportunities. They're obviously getting shot opportunities, but a lot of their shots are getting blocked. A lot of their shots are getting, are missing the net. So they need to work on that aspect of their game as well. Jesse is on board as well. Same comment. Ian Cole is a very dirty player. He certainly was tonight. Not only is he a dirty player, but he's a guy who, likes to be dirty, but then when, he comes face to face with a player who is, equal or bigger than him, he kind of shrinks a little bit, much like Mikhail Sergachev tonight as well. Joshua is your son. Well, welcome, father-son combo. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us, guys. If that's actually the case, I guess I have no reason not to believe you. The Savard penalty was ridiculous. How does he get that much for talking there? Well, again, the 10-minute misconduct isn't an indication of... 10-minute misconduct is basically the only option there. Unless you want to put the Canadians shorthanded. Arbor played well tonight. Yeah, I thought he played okay. I don't think it was one of his better games, but he certainly has looked a lot better the last 5 or 6 games. So on that note, why don't we have a quick look at our A team for tonight. Here we go, guys. Let's have a look and see who I had as the best players for Montreal. All right, so the first time I thought he was creating offense for himself. He was getting chances to score. Unfortunately, he missed the net more often than he hit it tonight. But he did have plenty of chances to score, especially in the first half of the game. I thought he was skating really well. I thought the combination between him and Newhook looked quite good. I don't think that they belong together in the long term, but certainly tonight they looked all right together. So I thought Caulfield was probably the best performer out there. Josh Anderson, I thought Josh Anderson played really well tonight. I thought he had some chances as well. Let's see if we can look up his numbers here. Just his basic numbers. He finished the game. He played 13 minutes, 39, 18 shifts, had 3 hits. No giveaways, no takeaways. Yeah, he's a pretty even game. I thought he skated well. I still think he's capable of being a really good skater in this league. I thought he did quite well. He got some scoring opportunities. Was good on the penalty kill, all of that stuff. So I thought Josh Anderson really did his job tonight. I had no issues with Josh Anderson's game. Jaden Struble, I thought looked solid again. Struble and Jackay have both looked very solid. I mean, I don't think you could possibly ask for anything more out of your third pairing defenseman than what Struble and Jackay are giving you right now. And I'm extremely satisfied with what they're doing. Struble tonight, I think, like I said earlier, when he scored his goal, you could tell he was on a mission to put pucks at the net, right? The team was struggling to get shots on goal, and he went out there, and that was sort of his mission, and he accomplished it, right? He got a shot on goal. There was a rebound. The puck came back to him a second time. He got another shot on goal, and it went in the net. I think Struble is really coming into his own. Whether he has a long-term role to play on this team, I'm not 100% sure of that. But I thought he played well tonight. And of course, Sam Montembeault, I think, anytime you get outshot 29-13 and you manage to get the game into overtime and get a chance to get a point, I think you have to look at the goaltender. I thought Montembeault played well tonight. He made the saves he needed to make. He made a couple of, really nice saves. Overall, I thought it was a good bounce back game for him after last game. Although last game I don't really think was his fault. But coming back from allowing 6 goals. Well, he only allowed 5, I guess, of the 6. I thought he looked good, and that's the Sam Montembeault that the Canadiens need to have if they're going to be, if they're going to continue to improve and when they become, a playoff type team or a contending team, that's the kind of play that they're going to need from Sam Montembeault. So, all right. If you're over on TikTok, guys, we're not taking any questions on TikTok tonight. The purpose of the TikTok live is simply to let you know that we're live on YouTube and that you can come over to the YouTube channel, Recliner Sports 4. All of the information is on the screen behind me. Come on over and join us if you want to participate in the conversation. We're talking about the Canadiens-Utah game, as well as the Canadiens and hockey generally. If that's interesting to you, come on over to our channel, Recliner Sports 4. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, the notification bell, and get in the comments and fire away with your questions. At this point, I have very little faith in Doc becoming what he was projected to be, but it can't hurt to give him a full season to see if he can figure it out. Well, again, I don't know why I think that's a bit of an early conclusion to draw, Aiden, quite frankly. I get that you don't have very much faith, but again, it's 20 games. It's not like he's the only guy on the team struggling. It's not like he hasn't shown signs of, or positive signs. I think he's definitely shown positive signs. I thought he actually had a really good game tonight. He didn't look great on that overtime goal, obviously. But all in all, I thought he played a pretty decent game tonight. Despite being relegated to the fourth line and having, pretty limited ice time. Slavkovsky with 11:29 of ice time and Kirby Dach with only 14:30. So, I'm not sure that, it's a fair assessment to say that you have, again, I can't tell you whether to have faith in a guy or not, but certainly I don't think it's a fair assessment to suggest that, the clock is running out on him. Returning to his old form. So, I think he's still a very capable player. Can you guys see the questions when I put them on the screen in front of me? Are you guys able to see that? I'm curious if that's working. That's a feature here on the software I'm using that I'm trying out, and I'm wondering if it's actually working or not. So maybe you can give me a thumbs up if that's working, and let me know. I hope I'm wrong. These injuries have ruined his development. Well, yeah, but again, he had a lot of injuries when he was in Chicago, and he obviously struggled. I think he had a wrist injury. I mean, if you remember, he had that wrist injury that kept him out of the World Juniors. He had other injuries while he was in Chicago, and it didn't look like he was going to be able to turn it around, but he did. Right? There was a period of time, while he was in Montreal that he looked quite good. So, I think that the opportunity is there for him to return to that form. The amount of posts Montreal hit tonight was silly. Yeah, they had lots of chances. Cole Caulfield hit the post. Was it Dvorak that hit the crossbar shorthanded when he was in all alone and he hit the crossbar shorthanded? I think that was Dvorak. So what do you think is going to happen to Kirby if he keeps on struggling? Well, what do you think will happen, Frank? I mean, he's under contract, right? So, there's any number of things that could happen. I mean, again, he's under contract. He's not going anywhere. He's going to have the opportunity to turn it around. Obviously they could trade him. The option to send him to the minors isn't there. And again, I'm even hesitant to even talk about these things because we are nowhere near a point where we need to be talking about this kind of thing, right? What do you want to do with him, Frank? Like, do you want to take him out behind the Bell Center and shoot him and put him down out of his misery? He's a part of the team, right? He's on the team. He's under contract. He's not going anywhere. There's limited things you can do, right? It's not, you're not, you can trade him, sure. If you can find somebody who wants him, if he continues to struggle, I don't expect that his trade value will be that high. Like I said, you can put him on waivers and maybe somebody picks him up, but again, I guess I'm at a loss to answer that question. What do you mean? What is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. He's going to continue to struggle, unfortunately. All right, guys, if you're here in the live, make sure that you tap the notification bell. Make sure that you subscribe. Pardon me. That's old habit. YouTube tells me that only about 35 to 40% of the people who view our lives are actually subscribed. So if you're here live tonight and you're not subscribed yet, please, please, please hit that subscribe button. It certainly does help. We ideally want to try and get to 500 subscribers. Once we get to 500 subscribers, I can start to do some funky stuff with, allowing you guys to comment in different ways, giving you guys access to, different emoticons and things like that. And, giving, the possibility to join the actual live, to join this show, and to do all kinds of different things. So we're at about 140 subscribers right now. So if you're here, and you're watching the show, if you're over on TikTok, come on over. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. All of that would be really, really great. It definitely helps us out. We've been doing this for about I guess it's over a month now. We're trying to grow our channel, and we can only do that if you guys help out. So we're trying to give you some good content. If you have any constructive criticism, certainly feel free to send it our way. But if you are enjoying the content, then it certainly would be nice if you'd subscribe and hit that like button. So. Yeah, exactly, Aiden. I think you're saying the same thing I am. I've noticed that Laine is practicing without a blue jersey. Yes, Patrick Laine. So again, are these comments showing up on the screen for you guys? Is that working out? Laine has been practicing with a full contact jersey, I believe, the last 3 days. It looks like he is poised to make his return. Apparently that return will likely happen next week sometime, potentially Sunday, I'm hearing. But again, these are unconfirmed. I don't have any, direct, pipeline to the team itself. But what I understand is that there's a possibility that he comes back on Sunday, and that most likely he will return to the lineup the following Tuesday. James Hagan or Porter Martone, here we come. Okay, well, I don't think that the Canadiens will be in a position to get either of those two guys. It's certainly possible. I don't see it, but again, I think that's maybe a clever thing for people to say 21 games into the season, but I doubt that they'll be in a position for that. Yeah, but I mean, Frank, certainly I'm answering your questions, and if anybody in the comments wants to answer questions, that's the whole idea behind having a conversation, Frank. So if I mean, essentially, Aiden said the same thing that I did. So again, if you have issues with other people in the comments responding to your questions, then I don't know that this is the right forum for you. Again, I'm not going to discourage or dissuade anybody from engaging in the conversation. So, yeah, just chill out, Frank. The comments by your face was working for Aiden. First comment you read, but now can't see them. So can you see this one, Hunter, when I do that? Yeah, that's a good point, Aiden. That's a good point about Tomasino and Doc sort of being in similar situations. I think Doc probably has a little bit of higher upside, but again, Tomasino is older than Doc. Does Tomasino have more time in the NHL? I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd rather give Doc. Yeah, I would too. I mean, I see there's no disadvantage to giving Doc an opportunity to return to form. There's no reason why you wouldn't give him that opportunity. If you're over on the TikTok live, guys, if you're over there, you need to come on over here and join the YouTube. The YouTube live. We're doing Habs After Dark, guys. We do Habs After Dark every night after the Canadiens games. We go live 15 minutes afterwards. So if you're over there on TikTok, the purpose of the TikTok live is just to let you know that we are live over here on YouTube and to invite you to come on over and to join the conversation. We're talking about the Canadiens and Utah 3-2 overtime loss for Montreal tonight. If you want to talk about it, come on over. Recliner Sports 4 is the channel on YouTube. You should be able to find us quite easily. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and then come on in, join the live, and get into the comments and do your thing. How many years is... you can look that up, Frank. Come on, man. Look it up. Yeah, 2 more years, I think. This year and another year. He's very reasonably paid, I think, right now, Aiden. See, now Aiden's going to answer all your questions, Frank. Now Aiden's going to answer all your questions. See what you did? Not that I want to trade him, but wow, Strudel trade look. Yeah, I agree, Vince. I agree. If you don't think that Struble, that's a great question. Actually, let me put that. Hopefully, you guys can see these. I'll watch the live after and see how this looks. But this is a great question by Vince, right? So you've got a guy like Struble who's playing really good hockey right now. Above and beyond probably what people expected of him. And, the question is, would it make sense to try and trade him right now? If you don't see Jayden Struble as being, a part of this team, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, then, would it maybe make sense to see if you can't make a trade for him while his trade value, right now is about as high as it probably ever will get. I mean, maybe it gets higher. Do I think that, Struble has, something to give to the Montreal Canadiens? Absolutely. But if you're looking at, down the road, guys like Reinbacher and Mailloux and others, coming into the mix with this team, Konyushkov, other guys, where does Struble fit into that grand scheme of things? So again, I'm not saying he doesn't, but if he doesn't, if you don't think he does, then this might be the time to Emil Heineman's another guy in the same boat, right? Again, Heineman is playing extraordinarily well. It's not a judgment on my part of how he's playing, but do you see Heineman having a role on the Montreal Canadiens in 2 or 3 years. Like where is he going to play in that lineup when guys like Demidov make them? And again, Demidov is no guarantee, that he's going to make it, but when guys like Beck and Jackeye and Tuck and Hage and all of these other guys start, making their move up to the NHL level, where do these guys fit into the grand scheme of things? And if they don't, then, is it a good time to think about maybe moving them? The argument would be, well, you hold on to them as long as you can until those other guys, show you that they're going to pull it off. But, guys like Struble and Heineman may be at the peak of their trade value right now. What's up, RJ? The comments in front of me on the screen are very small. You can't make it out. Okay. Yeah, I don't agree with that, Aiden. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that statement at all. I believe that he, for the right team, looking for a depth defenseman, I think he could fetch a decent price. I think he could fetch I mean, again, he's not. I don't think he's going to get a first-round draft pick, but I think he could get more than I'm assuming by mid-round you mean like third, fourth, fifth round pick. I think he can do better than that. Yes, Trouba and Kreider available. Yes, I have no interest in either one of them. I don't see why the Montreal Canadiens would. I think it would be a really, really. I mean, they certainly don't want Kreider, but neither one of those guys would seem to fit in with a rebuilding team, in my opinion. Especially Trouba. I mean, Trouba's making $8 million a year. I don't know why you would Montreal would be interested in that. What are we doing the Rangers? Yeah, precisely, Hexy. I think that's you, Hexy, is it not, Mr. McPhilly? Montreal's paying Kirby 3.3. Well, that's not bad. You never know me. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, that's actually a good point as well, Andre. Great point by Andre here. You're missing Matheson tonight, right? Matheson, for whatever you think about him as a player, I know there's a lot of guys out there that don't really appreciate what Matheson brings to the team. But at the end of the day, he's a guy who plays 25, 26 minutes a game. And when you take him out of the lineup, that's not ideal, right? You've got to fill those spots. And if you notice tonight, Lane Hutson didn't look like himself. He was far more reserved. He wasn't taking as many chances, and that, in part had to do with the fact that he had to, cover that ice time that Matheson normally gets. Not having and contrast that with when Savard came out of the lineup last week, right? Savard came out of the lineup for one game last week, and if you noticed, they didn't really miss him that much. But by contrast, tonight, I think that, Matheson being out of the lineup was far more noticeable. That's a great point, Andre. Thank you. Who else? I wasn't a huge fan, Adrian, of the refereeing and the penalties that were called, especially early on in the game. I'm not sure, Aiden. I think it's just day to day. I saw that Marty St. Louis was asked in his press conference this afternoon about whether, or no, it wasn't even this afternoon. It was on the bench during the game. They kind of go to the coaches in the between the whistles sometimes. He was asked whether there was any concern about Matheson being out, and he said there really wasn't. So hopefully that's the case. I did see that, Hunter. Yeah, I did. I thought it was a pretty weak call. Did I see Quinn Hughes cross-check on Saturday? He was ejected for it. Yeah, I did see that. I didn't think it was a great call. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I thought it was. I mean, again, it goes to show the lack of what's the word? It's not consistency, but things that are very dangerous on the ice seem to be allowed in the NHL. And things that are far less dangerous and far less deliberate, end up getting people thrown out of the game, right? Like Quinn Hughes gets thrown out of the game for what was, a pretty benign shove in the back of his opponent. He gets ejected for the game. And meanwhile, Zach Whitecloud, doesn't even get a minor penalty for, taking off an opponent's head. Jacob Trouba doesn't even get a minor penalty for, taking off, Justin Barron's head. Like the inconsistency, the incongruency, if I can use that word, of all of that, just, of the rules in the NHL, just make no sense to me, right? Guys like Matheson and Savard are useful to make things easier for the younger D-men. Yes, absolutely, Aiden, and that's their role with this team right now. I think Matheson's role is probably greater than that. I think Matheson's role is greater than just, being there as a, steadying force for the younger players. I think he plays a larger role than that. He's on the PK, he's on the PP, and he plays, like I said, 25, 26 minutes a game. Savard is certainly that guy. And I think, again, like I said, the contrast between the way they played in Savard's absence last week versus the way they played in Matheson's absence tonight, I think demonstrates the difference between the two players and the roles that they play with the team. All right, guys, there's a bit of a lull in the comments there. Keep them coming, but in the meantime, I'm going to take a quick rip at our report card. This is one of the other features we do on the show every Canadiens game, guys. The report card is my assessment of the Canadiens and how they played, beyond the final score. Again, there are games where they may struggle but win anyway. There may be games where they play, where they win, but they don't play that well. Tonight was a bit of a difficult one to assess, because, obviously, things looked in some ways very lopsided. But in other ways, it was a lot closer than that. Certainly the penalties against the Canadiens didn't help them. And certainly on the shot clock, it didn't help them. 3 or fewer goals against tonight. While they succeeded on that, they allowed just the 3 goals. Again, 3 goals against per game is kind of a standard in the NHL. If you can do that, it means that your team is probably doing pretty well and has a chance to make the playoffs. They unfortunately weren't able to score 3 goals tonight. They got held to just 2. Special teams, I gave them a fail tonight. While they did manage to kill off all of the, I believe it was 4 or 5 penalties against power. Were there 4 PKs? Yeah, so they killed all 4 penalties against, and they failed to score a goal on the 3 power plays that they did get. For all of those of you who have been clamoring for Lane Hutson to be on the first power play, hopefully you got what you were looking for tonight. But again, I think, as I've been telling you all along, that's not going to be some sort of magic. It's not some magic ticket or golden ticket to success. Again, everybody seems to think that that's some great thing that needs to happen, but I think tonight was a demonstration that that's not a secret to success by any means. There's a lot more that needs to happen. And engagement, effort, and energy. I really had a hard time with this one. I ended up getting a failing grade, but it was close. I mean, I'm not going to, criticize the effort and the engagement of the team tonight. I thought they did play well. I thought they were, hamstrung, especially in the first period, by penalties, some of which weren't really their fault. But yeah, I gave them a failing grade, but it could have gone either way. Progress. I think tonight was probably a step in the right direction. I don't think it was a step backwards. It might have been a lateral move. But I don't think that, this was a game where they're going to look back on and say that they made a bunch of mental mistakes and a bunch of mental errors that they've been trying to fix. I thought they showed some pride tonight, scrapping it up a little bit when they had to. I actually kind of liked David Savard giving it to the referee at the end of the second period, and showing the teammates that, he had that in him, and that, he was going to have a little bit of emotion. And I think one of the things that the Canadians have lacked this year is a little bit of that emotion, and I think that's part of the Marty St. Louis influence. I don't think he's a guy who encourages the players to show a ton of emotion, and I wish they would show a little bit more. Discipline, I gave them a failing grade. Again, I don't blame them for any of the penalties tonight. I don't blame Savard for telling off the referee, but at the same time, sometimes you got to take the high road and bite your tongue. And as far as playing 60 minutes, I thought they played a full 60 minutes tonight. I thought they played from beginning to end, so I didn't really have any issue there. So that's it for the report card, guys. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree with any of that, if you agree or disagree with the A team that we talked about earlier, Caulfield, Anderson, Struble, or Montembeault. If you've got anything to say about those guys, if you agree that those are the four guys that you would have picked as the guys who showed up tonight for Montreal, who were the leading forces for the team. If those are the guys that you would have picked, let me know. If you would have picked somebody different, let me know. Or if you agree, if you think that I'm absolutely crazy for picking Josh Anderson or Jaden Struble, and you think that they didn't belong there, let me know and tell me why, and let's have a chat about it. So we'll go back to the comments. If you're over there on TikTok, guys, I see there's a few people sending questions on the TikTok live. The only purpose of the TikTok live, guys, is to let you know that we are live on YouTube, Habs After Dark. Follow the instructions on the screen behind me. Come on over to YouTube. The channel is Recliner Sports 4. We're doing a chat here in the comments. If you want to come over, you want to ask some questions, you want to be a part of it, then this is the spot. You got to come over here and do it from over here. Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. Frank says, I don't know why everybody isn't subscribed. This is a great show. I'm not going to toot my own horn. I don't know whether it's a great show, but I think we're certainly having a great conversation, and that's mostly thanks to you guys and your great questions. So we do. There's a fair bunch of comments going on here. We have some decent participation in the room right now. Stand by. We have, how many people do we have in here right now? We've got a few people in here right now. But yeah, if you're not subscribed yet, guys, it's very easy to do. Again, it helps. If you're enjoying the content, it definitely helps us for you to subscribe. So he brings a lot of things. Yeah, absolutely, Andre. I agree with you completely. And again, I think he takes a lot of criticism, and a lot of people, don't really realize the value he brings to the team. Yeah, I think he does. I think he is an important, he plays an important role on the team for sure. How much do you think Savard could get at the deadline? A second, maybe? Yeah, I think they could get a second for him, maybe even better. To be honest with you, I mean, he's a right-handed defenseman. He has a Stanley Cup under his belt. If a team, a contending team is looking for a solid, bottom of the lineup defenseman, even a second pairing defenseman who's solid defensively and has experience and is a right-handed shot, which is a very hot commodity in the NHL right now. Right-handed defenseman. I think he could like I said, if there's a team that's looking to add a guy at the deadline, or there's a team that has some injuries on defense and needs a guy, I think Savard could be a pretty valuable commodity come trade deadline time. Yeah, I agree, Aiden. Again, I think that the right-handed thing is a huge factor that a lot of people may not be fully considering. On a scale of 100, how excited are you for Linley? Yeah, I don't think he's coming back tomorrow, Andre. I mean, I'm not saying he's not coming back, but I would highly doubt that he comes back before Sunday. My sense is that it's going to be either Sunday or Tuesday. Again, I don't have any real, solid information on that. I'm basing that upon things that I've heard from other commentators and other, people, who maybe, have a more of an insight into it than I do. But, I haven't heard that directly from the team. But I would doubt that they're going to do anything to rush him back in any way. And they're going to certainly bring him back in a role where he has the best opportunity to succeed. So I don't see him coming back tomorrow. And again, I don't think that him being back in Columbus, I don't think is ideal. I think I don't think ideally they want his first game back to be on the road or in one of his former against one of his former teams. What's up, NHL playoff? How are you doing? Yeah, I think it's either Sunday or next Tuesday, Andre. If I had to guess, I think that most of the game was basically the refs versus the Habs. Yeah, I don't know if I would go quite that far. I think the refereeing was terrible. NHL playoff. We've already talked about that. We've discussed that already, and I think I definitely think that the referees were very bad tonight. I don't know if I would go as far as to say the whole game was the refs versus the Canadiens, but the refereeing was very inconsistent tonight. It certainly set the Canadiens back, early in the game in the first period. It set the tone a little bit and kind of a good start is very important for a team like Montreal, right? We know that, if they start poorly, they tend to lose. And that getting off to a good start really is a good marker for Montreal. I don't think that it helped them get off to a good start. Low time on. You're suggesting that Laine will have low time on ice when he first comes back to the lineup? Is that what you're saying, Andre? I think that's probably. I don't know how careful they'll be with him, but there's certainly, it'll be a feeling out process, I think, when he first comes back. Do I see Hage getting a game or two before the end of the season? I think it's possible, Daniel. If he does want to come out and leave Michigan this year, I think that'll be a deal that they offer him. They'll offer him a contract with the opportunity to play a game or two and burn the first year of his entry-level contract. However, he has spoken already this year about not being in a rush, to come to the NHL. Obviously, if he continues to put up points at the rate he is right now, that might be precipitated a little bit. So again, that's not a very good answer that I'm giving you, Daniel, whether I see that happening or not. The answer is, I guess I don't know. If he ends up being a guy who scores, who ends up with 40 plus 50 points in the NCAA this year, I certainly think that will be an indication that he could come out. But again, I don't think it would hurt anybody for him to spend another year in Michigan, right? Lane Hudson did 2 years in Michigan. Sorry, in the NCAA at Boston University. So I don't want to say it's likely. I want to say I would, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say that there's a 30% chance that Hage comes out this year and plays a game or two at the end of the season in Montreal. How about that? Let's see how tomorrow's game goes. Usually Habs are not best back-to-back games. Yeah, I agree. Again, this team has been pretty inconsistent, and who knows what we'll see from them tomorrow. It really could. I'm not going to say it could go either way, but who knows, right? Like who really knows what we'll see from them tomorrow. Stand by. The Blue Jackets are a team that they, by rights should, do okay against. But again, I think they're playing better than they have been. They're coming on a little bit, and the game will be in Columbus. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. If you're over on YouTube, guys, if you're over on TikTok, guys, come on over and join us in the live chat here on YouTube. We're doing Habs After Dark. The purpose of the TikTok live is simply to let you know that the show is on here at YouTube, and to invite you to come over to YouTube, join the channel, subscribe. The channel is Recliner Sports 4, and come on in. If you want to be a part of the conversation, then you need to come and do it over here. Yeah, I agree, Andre. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Frank. That's a really good point. I was on with Coach Frenchie on his show, Habs Nation Live, on Monday, I think, or Sunday night, with Enertap and Coach Frenchie, and we talked about that. And I raised the fact that obviously Laine coming back to the lineup will provide a boost as far as production goes and what he can bring on the ice, but it also will be a bit of a morale boost for them, right? A psychological boost for a team that, is struggling a little bit mentally right now. Like their game right now, the issues with their game is, sort of up here in their head a little bit, more so than anywhere else. And so, just the morale boost of having Laine back in the lineup, he's a guy who they watched through, the summer and trained with in training camp, and then kind of, all watched in horror while as he got hurt in that preseason game, and then they've kind of been around watching him rehab from that and come back around, and I think he's a bit of a I don't know what the right word is, but like they're rooting for him, and they're going to be happy to see him make it back, and I think that will raise spirits a little bit on the team and the morale of the team. So but we are fed up with this BS of the referees controlling our games. That's why from now on, when they are all good, the fans are going to say, refs, you suck, which I love. Yeah, again, the refs do suck. The refs are not good. The refs aren't good. The rules aren't good. The league isn't good at officiating their games. But again, I don't think it's anything that is aimed at the Montreal Canadiens, or that the Canadiens are suffering from any worse than any other team. Refereeing in the NHL stinks. Whether you're a Canadiens fan, a Maple Leafs fan, a Bruins fan, or anything else, it's not anything that's directed at Montreal. The referees don't know how to manage a hockey game. The rules of the NHL are, extremely inconsistent. They don't make sense. They're just, the league from that perspective is being run by a bunch of old boy cronies who really have no business being in that role. And, the guys who write the rules and the guys who, do all of this stuff and establish the way that NHL hockey games are going to be officiated, just don't have any real sense or any real business being in that job. They just don't. Hage would be nice. Well, again, Hage would be nice if he can carry over what he's doing in the NCAA to the NHL. But again, that's not always the case, right? Like, obviously he looks awesome and he's meeting every expectation at every level. But let's keep in mind, he's, 8 games into his college career. Before that, he was a player in the, United States Hockey League. So, I don't think we need to be, drawing up the, carving out the plaques for him to be, whatever, he's a project. He still has a lot of developing to do. He's young, and there's a lot of, steps and stages that he needs to get past, if he, before he's going to be any type of a contributor at the NHL level. Like he's at the very early stages of his development. Now, has he met all expectations, and is that development going well? Absolutely. But again, I think it's early to sort of suggest that he's going to be, that we know what he's going to be at all, good, bad, or otherwise. So I just hope they win tomorrow. Yeah, well, again, we can all hope. I just hope they play well tomorrow, NHL playoff. For me, obviously a win is awesome, and a win is usually an indication that they've played well. But, a solid 60 minutes of, mentally sound hockey tomorrow would be really nice to see. if there's a player that will play with heart for the Habs, it will be Hage. Well, again, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things about Hage's character that we know, and these things, point in the right direction. And these are the kinds of things that the Canadiens have, again, when we talk about the rebuild, the focus often is on the roster and on the team. But when we talk about the roster or the rebuild, there's other aspects to it as well. And one of the aspects is, this idea that the Canadiens are now, focused, more so than before on the character of the players that they bring into their, into their family, into their team, right? So, we saw that with Jacob Fowler. He was a guy who really impressed them with his character. We saw that with Slavkovsky. He was a guy that impressed them with his character, and the responses to questions in the interview. They were enamored with Demidov. From that perspective. So this is something that, and again, it sounds like, Hage is in that category as well. So that also is part of the, the equation when it comes to the rebuild, right? You build an identity, right? These are the kind of guys you want on your team. I happened to pop in for a minute to Coach Frenchie's live earlier tonight during the game. And, he was talking about, lamenting, as so many fans do, the fact that the Canadiens didn't, they didn't pick Michkov and they picked Reinbacher instead. Well, one of the reasons they picked Reinbacher over Michkov was because of his character and the kind of person he presented as when he met with them. And I like that. I like that. Is Michkov going to become a superstar? Yeah, maybe. Well, it looks like he's, on his way to being, a pretty good offensive producer in the NHL. But, we still don't know what Reinbacher's going to be. But definitely what we do know about Reinbacher is he's a really good kid with a good work ethic, and he's smart, and he's going to be, he's never going to be a negative influence on the Montreal Canadiens. Whether he becomes a positive influence, from a production point of view, that remains to be seen. But we know he's never going to be a guy who causes problems for the Canadiens, and they'll never have to worry about that. So come on over, guys. I see you over on TikTok, guys. If you're on TikTok, you got to come over to YouTube to join the conversation. I have a feeling that they're going to have to put some players in the Laval, I think you mean Laval Rockets. Yep, they are. Yeah, there's going to be a crunch on the roster. Did I see in the highlight that a Colorado player took out the referee? That was last week. There was an incident with a referee being injured in a collision with a referee. What's up, Tyrone? Canucks won tonight? Okay, or they're playing right now, aren't they? Are they not still playing? Oh, they won 2-0 with 15 shots on goal. They beat the Boston Bruins. So I'm going to assume that was our good friend Jeremy Swayman, the savior for all goalies. In my opinion, I think every team should do what the Habs fans are doing, which is speak up, because I find that every fan base is not speaking up for their... I don't understand what you mean by that, NHL playoff. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Back-to-backs are tough. Yeah, I agree, Zach. But, you're a young team. Physically, you should be able to handle it. The question is, can you handle it mentally? And that's kind of, I think, what this team is working on, right? The mental side of things. So yeah, we have 2 back-to-backs: Utah today, Columbus tomorrow, and the Rangers and the yeah. Both afternoon games on the weekend, by the way, guys. Both are afternoon games on Saturday and Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. Hage has matured a lot in the last 3 years. Yeah. Well, I mean, most kids mature between the ages of 16 and 19. Those are pretty heavy, formative years, right? Obviously Hage has been through more than most people have to go through at that age with the passing of his father, the shoulder injury that, forced him to miss. I think he missed almost an entire season in the USHL. So he's been through a lot. Greetings from Chile. Buenos dias, Rodolfo. ¿Cómo está? Canadians need to build everything from the junior divisions. Now, how could the Canadians defeat the Blue Jackets tomorrow? Any strategy? I think there's strategies in place, Rodolfo. I think the strategies in place. It's just a matter of them, executing it and keeping their wits about them and staying mentally in the game. Lately the issues that they faced have revolved largely around mental breakdowns. Where they lose their I call it they lose their shape, right? So they've got a system in place and they're playing a system, and then every once in a while when they face a little bit of adversity, that the shape of that system, the system kind of falls apart on them. They forget how to play their system, and all of a sudden, they give up 2 or 3 goals and boom, they're in trouble. So I think that for them it's going to be a matter of keeping their wits about them, staying mentally sound, and playing their system, and not making those mental mistakes. I find that every other fan base doesn't speak up when something is wrong during the game, other than the Habs fans were. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think the Canadians are any different than other fan bases. I'm not sure what you mean by speak up when something is wrong. Are you talking about something is wrong within the organization? Are you talking about the referees being right? I'm not sure what you mean about that. I would say that the Canadians fans, to a degree, tend to overreact a little bit and tend to, get upset based on short-term issues and short-term results, as opposed to sort of taking a more thoughtful approach to the bigger picture of the team. I think that goes for the media as well. I mean, Montreal is a very reactionary city when it comes to their hockey team, right? The world is either the sky is either falling or, they're planning a Stanley Cup parade. And those two emotions can change, based on, 1 or 2 games. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that much different than the Toronto Maple Leafs fans or fans in a lot of cities. But certainly, the reactionary nature of the Montreal Canadiens fans, and the fact that that's been reflected in the past on the organization, is a bit of a problem. And, I think that, in a rebuild, I hope this isn't going to happen, but the risk of the fans or the media putting enough pressure on the Montreal Canadiens to the point where they're forced to abandon some of the philosophies of the rebuild is something that certainly is a concern to me. And I think there's, certain members of the media, certainly the Francophone media, that are putting those pressures on the Canadians, right? The Canadians lose 2 or 3 games and all of a sudden they're calling for Marty St. Louis to be fired, or they're calling for the Canadians to, trade this guy or trade that guy, or send this guy down or send that guy down. And in the past, that in a lot of circumstances would have pressured the team into making, what I think, usually was a bad move. And I'm hoping that, the Canadians have the resolve to avoid that. Louis DeBrusque's kid scored, did he? Imagine the NHL starts requiring referees to wear equipment. How funny would that be? Okay, they do wear equipment, NHL playoff. What you mean about picking up is that I find out the Habs fan base is only bad ways. Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Like, what do you mean by when something is not right, NHL playoff? Like, do you mean like when one of the players isn't playing well, when the referees aren't? Like, what do you mean by they speak out when something is not right? I don't understand what that means, and I don't understand how the Canadians differ in that aspect than other NHL teams. The last time we played against Columbus, we won, but it was at home. Yes, it was. It was. Thank you, Marc-Antoine. Thank you. I'm trying to work on it. This new software it's not new software. It's new software to me, so I'm working on it. I'm working on making it better. Frank, thank you. Have a great night as well, Frank. I appreciate you coming by. I appreciate the thumbs up. If you guys haven't hit that thumbs up button and you're enjoying the content, please do so. It certainly helps. I don't know how many of you are in here right now. I think it looks like there's 14 people in here right now. Does that make sense? I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, if you're not yet subscribed, guys, please do so. It certainly does help us out If you want to hit that notification bell, that means you'll get notifications when we go live. We do this show, Habs After Dark, after every Montreal Canadiens game. We usually start live about 15 minutes after the game is over. We do a bit of a review of the game, and then we sort of get involved in the comments and we answer your questions and we have a chat about the game. So yeah, that's how things work. Like I said, I'm told by YouTube that only about 35% of the people who are watching these lives are actually subscribed. All you got to do is just hit that subscribe button. It's really, really easy, guys. It's just below the screen down here. You got to hit that subscribe button. You can hit the thumbs up button. You can do all that good stuff. That would be really awesome. If you're over on TikTok, guys, I see there's a few of you who are on TikTok. Come on over to YouTube. Recliner Sports 4 is the channel if you want to get in on this conversation. Thank you, Rodolfo. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Devin habla español. Eso es impresionante. Yes, my Spanish is not the best in the world, Rodolfo. I do have a little bit. I certainly know enough to be able to say hello and greet people and thank you and things like I can order a beer. I can do a little bit more than order a beer. But yeah, my Spanish is not certainly fluent. I'm not trilingual. I'm only bilingual, but I certainly can get by. I certainly understand Spanish. Okay, because it does have a lot of similarities to French. Yeah, I agree. Patience is required, Rodolfo. Wisdom from South America, from Rodolfo. I appreciate it, Rodolfo. I've been preaching that forever. Patience is something that a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans don't have in great amounts. But we do need to be patient with this rebuild. The only thing that's going to hurt this rebuild or kill this rebuild is if the fans become impatient. And I desperately hope that won't happen. So, I'm not a big fan of Bergevin either, NHL playoff. I'm not a big fan either. But yeah. Blake Snell just signed with the Dodgers. Okay. Well, baseball's kind of getting a little bit out of control now with all the free agents and there being like 3 or 4 teams now where everybody seems to go and play for those same 3 or 4 teams. Oui, je parle français, Marc-Antoine. J'aimerais bien parler plus en français ici à notre émission, mais il n'y a pas trop de questions en français en ce moment. Mais j'espère parler plus en français. J'aime bien pratiquer mon français. J'ai pas beaucoup d'opportunités de pratiquer mon français ici à Nouvelle-Écosse. Alors, pour moi, j'aimerais bien faire plus de contenu en français, mais c'est difficile quand il n'y a pas de personne pour me demander les questions. Juan Sano to 12. Didn't you learn your lesson last year, Hunter, about getting your hopes up about big free agents? And again, what is Juan Soto going to do for the Toronto Blue Jays? I mean, realistically, do you think that he alone is going to be a guy who puts them into the playoffs? I don't know. I'm not convinced. Je vais te poser mes questions en français maintenant. C'est parfait, Marc-Antoine. Je ferai mon mieux de répondre en français. The thing about the fan base in Montreal is that I don't think the team is stupid enough to let the fans control what they do. They have been in the past, though. They have been in the past. And again, I think it's you're probably right. I think it would be an exaggeration to say that the organization allowed the fans and the media to control them. I think that's probably an exaggeration. But I think there are a number of examples in the past where the organization has been pressured into making moves, reactionary moves, by external forces. And I don't think that's going to happen. Much to the chagrin of, a number of the members of the media who seem to have this adversarial approach to the Monday. I mean, even if you listen to the broadcast on RDS tonight, which I generally enjoy, and I listen to most of the games in French, although I won't be listening to the games on TVA on Saturday anymore. They're just terrible. Like the people that they have working for TVA are just a disaster. But even tonight on RDS, David Savard gets a 10-minute misconduct, and basically they're on board with the referee, right? Oh, you can't do that, and they already warned the Canadians, and David Savard should have known better, and he should have. Come on, man. Like, again, I'm not asking you to be homers by any means, but this bend over backwards to be nice and polite on RDS. Jake Evans gets pitchforked in the nuts at the end of the game, like literal pitchfork by Ian Cole. And they're laughing about it, like they're giggling about it, like they're not criticizing the referee for the lack of consistency, in calling the penalties. They think it's funny that that Jake Evans has just been speared in the nuts by by an opposing player. Like I again, not a big fan. Je parle seulement un petit en français parce que c'était obligatoire à l'école avant être la 7e et 8e. Bon, c'est assez bien, Rodolfo. That's pretty good, Rodolfo, for somebody from Chile, I would say. TVA est terrible, je suis d'accord avec ton analyse, sont horribles. Oui, pour moi, si vous êtes québécois et vous avez jamais joué un match dans la LNH, vous avez un job à TVA. Je trouve que tous leurs annonceurs sont des anciens joueurs de moindre qualité, des Maxime Lapierre. Ils connaissent même pas. Sont terribles. Il y a rien plus de dire que qu'ils sont terribles. Yeah, again, NHL playoff. I don't think that necessarily was a hockey thing. The riots after the last. I don't think that was necessarily a hockey thing. I think that was more of a losers who were taking advantage of an opportunity kind of thing. Luc Lafortune, les joueurs disent qu'ils aiment jouer pour MSL, mais peut-être qu'ils ne le respectent pas. Just saying. Moi, je suis en désaccord avec ça. Je pense qu'ils ont beaucoup de respect pour Martin Saint-Louis. Certainement, ils aiment jouer pour lui, mais je vois pas d'évidence qu'ils le respectent pas. Je pense que la philosophie de coaching de Martin Saint-Louis, c'est beaucoup différent de l'approche traditionnelle. Pour lui, c'est pas une situation d'être un homme fort, un homme qui punit les joueurs pour leurs erreurs. C'est un coach qui veut enseigner, qui veut rendre des jeunes joueurs meilleurs. Peut-être dans une situation comme ça, il y a un risque que les joueurs ne te respectent pas, mais je ne vois pas ça à Montréal. Je ne le vois pas. Si vous avez des exemples, j'aimerais les entendre, mais pour moi, je ne vois pas d'évidence d'un un manque de respect avec Martin Saint-Louis. Et si vous confuse, if you're mixing up le respect avec le peur, je pense que il fait trop d'années que les coachs dans la LNH fonctionnent utilisent la peur, fear. They use fear pour contrôler leurs joueurs. Pour moi, ça fonctionne plus. Ça n'a jamais fonctionné vraiment pour moi, à mon avis. Et il y a une différence entre contrôler ton équipe avec la peur. Is there a better word than peur? Il y a une différence entre ça et le respect. Alors, il y a une différence entre la façon que un coach comme John Tortorella contrôle son équipe parce qu'ils sont tous peur d'être taken out of the lineup, benched. Euh, ils ont tous peur de faire des erreurs parce qu'ils savent que s'ils font des erreurs, leurs coachs vont l'enlever de la line-up. Il va les ridiculer avec la presse, avec les médias après les matchs. Il va crier, il va lancer des choses, il va être un gros homme fort. Il va essayer d'être un gros homme fort. Mais pour moi, ça ne fonctionne plus. Mais comme j'ai dit, ça n'a jamais fonctionné à mon avis, mais ça ne fonctionne certainement pas maintenant dans la LNH. Yeah, TVA is not a great place to watch a hockey game. Marc-Antoine, je trouve que Martin Saint-Louis a une approche très moderne que je trouve pas. Je suis complètement d'accord avec toi, Marc-Antoine. Je trouve son approche très rafraîchissant, c'est différent. Les joueurs aiment jouer pour lui. Pour moi, un autre aspect de la... comment on dit rebuild en français? Rebâtissement? Un autre aspect du rebuild, c'est de rendre votre équipe être une destination que les autres joueurs veulent venir jouer. Alors, pour Montréal, la meilleure façon de faire ça, Montréal, c'est une excellente ville. C'est une place où tout le monde aimerait vivre, mais peut-être il y a beaucoup de joueurs qui aimeraient mieux vivre en Floride, dans un climat plus chaud, dans un État où il n'y a pas de taxes. Mais pour Montréal, c'est l'histoire qui le rend une destination pour les autres joueurs. Alors, avoir un coach comme Martin Saint-Louis que tous les joueurs aiment, avoir un coach comme lui, ça rend Montréal une destination pour les autres joueurs. Ils veulent venir ici parce que les joueurs en parlent. Les joueurs des Canadiens, ils vont parler à leurs amis qui sont sur les autres équipes. Ils vont parler comment ils aiment jouer pour Martin Saint-Louis. Comment c'est l'environnement à Montréal, toutes les choses comme ça. Alors, pour rendre Montréal une destination pour les autres joueurs, avoir un coach comme Martin Saint-Louis, ça va... Ça va... It goes a long way to achieving that. Reconstruction, c'est ça, Marc-Antoine. Merci. I agree with all you said, but there's no accountability for players. Mais comment ça, il n'y a pas de... What do you mean there's no accountability, Luke? In what way is there no accountability? Like what? Define accountability. So again, if you're going to define accountability, I guess you need to tell me what you think the players, should be accountable for, and what it is that the team is not doing, the coaches are not doing, that renders the players not accountable. Mon français, c'était beaucoup mieux quand j'étais jeune, Luc, mais j'ai pas beaucoup d'occasion de pratiquer mon français ici à Nouvelle-Écosse, alors mon français, ça devient un peu rouillé. Quand j'étais jeune, j'habitais à Québec, j'ai fait toute mon école à Québec. J'ai fait mon école en français, mais ça fait longtemps depuis que je parle en français régulièrement. The NHL should see with RDS they can do some agreement or something for they do every NHL team get TV. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen in NHL playoff. Oh. C'est difficile, Marc-Antoine, mais j'essaie. Et le plus que je parle, le plus que je J'utilise mon français le mieux que ça va devenir, je pense. Why is Doc on the PP then? Don't want to hurt his feelings. Well, I don't think that's the case, Luke. I think Doc is on the PP for two reasons. One, I still think he's probably the best option there. And two, I think that they're trying to put him in positions to succeed, right? So Doc is a player who's struggling with his confidence, who's having a hard time getting back to his old form. And the feeling is that, once he gets a little bit of confidence and gets some momentum going in his favor, that, some of that will start coming back. And frankly, the best opportunity for him to do that, the best opportunity for him to get a goal or to get, something positive would be on the power play. So I think that's why he's on the PP unit, right? Because I think they still see value in Kirby Dach, and they see that Kirby Dach still has a lot to contribute to this team, and that, burying him on the fourth line and taking away all of his, positive opportunities to turn things around isn't going to help him or the team in the long run. Right? So again, when you talk about a lack of accountability, to me, if you want to make your players accountable, the thing you want to make them accountable for is their effort and for their, for the what they're trying to do on the ice. And by all indications, Kirby Dach is working his ass off. Right? The coaches feel like he's working his ass off. His teammates think that he's working his ass off. He's doing everything possible. He's just not, having success. Right? So this isn't a matter of punishing a guy for slacking off or missing practice or not trying or being lazy or whatever. He's not. He's not doing any of that stuff. And if he was, I'd be 100% in favor of what you're describing as accountability. But I don't think that's the case. It's clearly not the case. I know I'm late, but I think Montreal didn't have a chance on Saturday against Vegas. Well, again, I think they played okay in the first period, Adrian. I think they allowed a couple goals early in the second period and kind of got put into a bit of a spin cycle. And again, this is part of the mental aspect of the game that that this team is working on, right? They need to work on, dealing with that adversity. So they give up a goal or two instead of, sort of completely falling apart. They need to learn how to sort of recalibrate and readjust and stay in the game. So, instead of giving up a goal or two, now they're giving up 4 or 5 and they're losing they're losing the game over a 10-minute period. Whereas, if you give up a goal or two, but you can sort of, get back in control and take control of it, then I think that you don't, you minimize the damage, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe Doc needs a kick in the ass. Who knows? Well, maybe, but I would say, Luke, that the Canadiens coaching staff is in a far better position to make that assessment than you or I, right? Like, we don't. I don't go to their practices. I don't see them practice all the time. I don't see Kirby Dach in the gym. I don't have the opportunity to speak to him on a regular basis. I don't have regular meetings with him as a coach where I talk to him about how he's feeling about his game and what's going on with him and how he's adjusting or not or whatever. Like I don't have the access or the information to determine whether or not he needs a kick in the ass. And again, like I said, for me, a kick in the ass comes when you're making mistakes because you're being lazy or because you're not being attentive or you're not paying attention to details. The indication I'm getting from listening to the coaching staff and listening to his teammates and listening to him is that that's not what's happening here. Kirby Dach isn't struggling because he's not putting in an effort or that he's, somehow slacking off. That's not what's happening here. Right? This isn't a Pierre-Luc Dubois scenario. This isn't a Patrick Laine in his early stages of his career situation. This isn't a Russian, this isn't a Nail Yakupov, This isn't a guy who's a malcontent and is moping around the dressing room and acting like a jerk off. Like he's trying. I just hope the Habs don't recall too many guys from Laval. Well, I don't think they'll be able to, Luke. I don't think they have the roster spots in Montreal to be calling up a ton of guys from Laval. Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I mean, obviously, Raphael Harvey-Pinard is going to have to come back on the weekend. He's going to have to come back up to Montreal because he can only stay down on that conditioning loan for so long. But again, I don't agree with you. Yeah, but give me examples of that, Luke. Donne-moi des exemples des joueurs qui sont trop complaisants. Donne-moi des exemples. C'est facile à dire ça, mais si tu n'as pas des exemples, ça vaut rien. Donne-moi des exemples des joueurs qui sont complaisants et donne-moi des exemples de leur complaisance. C'est qui le joueur sur le Canadien qui donne pas un effort? C'est qui le joueur sur l'équipe qui paraît paresseux, qui est paresseux, qui n'essaye pas, qui joue pas de la bonne manière? Certainement, il y a beaucoup de joueurs sur le Canadien qui font des erreurs. Il y a des joueurs sur le Canadien qui font des erreurs mentales. Il y a des joueurs qui vont avoir des problèmes avec le nouveau style de jouer, le nouveau système. Il y a des joueurs qui vont faire des mauvaises décisions. Mais pour moi, il n'y a pas de joueur sur l'équipe que je dirais, lui, il n'essaie pas. Il ne fait pas son job. Il n'y a pas de joueur. Caden Primo, il joue pas bien, mais je dirais pas qu'il l'essaie pas. Kirby Dach, il joue pas bien, il n'y a pas de résultat, mais je dirais pas qu'il n'essaie pas, que c'est un joueur qui ne travaille pas. Did my comment go through, Devin? Sorry, I know there's other comments to read as well. Which one? Do I think coaching change in Boston will get them going? Sorry, I missed it, Hunter. Not really. I don't think that Jim Montgomery was the problem in Boston. By any means, I think that, certainly if you wanted to look for a problem off the ice, I think you probably would look higher up the management as to what they, some of the things that they've been doing and the roster that they've put together for that team. I think the reality is that Jim Montgomery performed a bit of a miracle with that team over the last couple seasons. So, well, that's easy to say, Luke. Just try harder is easy to say. But I mean, again, unless you can give me examples of players that you think are being complacent and examples of how they're being complacent, I can't agree with you. I don't see that personally. I mean, and I watch every game. I listen to just about every press conference, every media availability that's posted on YouTube. I watch all of that. You see, no. But what does that look like, Luke? Like, again, you're throwing out a bunch of cliches. You're throwing out a bunch of catchphrases that don't even really mean anything, right? Okay, but what is that? Oh, so what does desperation look like? Like, what does desperation look like? Like, what I get? Like, again, you're throwing out cliche catchphrases. You're speaking in like. What does it mean for them to have urgency and no desperation? Like how can you see that? How can you read their minds through the television screen? Like how can you tell that they're not urgent and they're not trying, or that they're not desperate, or that they're not, I don't understand how you can see that. I mean, perhaps you can. I can't. I don't have the ability to I don't have the ability to tell somebody's urgency or desperation level by watching them on TV. I'm not into their head. And again, I think that a lot of fans use those terms without really knowing what they mean. Non, je pense pas. Je pense pas, Marc-Antoine. Pour moi, selon les choses que j'ai entendues, il va jouer probablement mardi prochain, peut-être dimanche après-midi à Boston ou à New York. À New York, je pense. Mais je pense pas qu'il va jouer demain. If you're over on TikTok, guys, you need to come over to YouTube. Follow the instructions on the screen behind me. We are doing Habs After Dark. We're going long tonight, guys. We're going extra long. There's a lot of comments. There's a lot of conversation going on. But if you want to join the conversation and you're over there on TikTok, you need to come on over and ask your questions here. The channel is Recliner Sports 4 on YouTube. The show is Habs After Dark. And we're happy to answer all of your questions. If you are here on YouTube, then hit the subscribe button. Subscribers definitely help us. We're trying to get our numbers up to 500. There's a level that YouTube sets at 500 subscribers that allows me to be more creative and to do more things here on YouTube. Once I reach that level, we're at about 140 subscribers right now. If you're in here and you're enjoying the content, guys, hit the button, the thumbs up button, and make sure you subscribe. It certainly does. It does help us out. It is a good thing for us. We do appreciate it, and it does. Like I said, it allows me to get closer to that magical 500 subscriber number. I'm told. According to the analytics, the YouTube analytics say that only 35% of the people watching the lives, whether it's here live or in the replays, only 35% are actually subscribed. So I think we can certainly do better than that. Well, again, it's not about your age, Luke. Again, I'm the kind of guy who questions people when they say stuff like that. It's very easy to speak in those cliche terms, but again, I appreciate your passion, and I appreciate the fact that I'm not a young pup myself, and I've been watching this team for quite some time, but I've come to the realization that at the end of the day, regardless of how much attention we pay to this team, we only have a very limited amount of information to base our opinions on, and to start talking about players being lazy or players being complacent or players not having we have no clue about any of that stuff, because we don't know. We're not there. We're not there. Yeah, if a player was extraordinarily lazy and a problem, and wasn't, trying and was, a malcontent in the dressing room or whatever, yeah, eventually that probably would get to us as fans if it was an ongoing thing. But we're not in the dressing room. We're not, we're not on the ice. We don't get a chance to talk to these players when they come to the bench after a shift. We don't, get a chance to be in the dressing room between periods. Like, I think it's very, and again, it's not an uncommon thing. The media does it all the time. Right? Like, if you listen again, if you watch TVA on the weekend, their announcers and commentators were all talking about, Maxime Lapierre seems to have drawn the conclusion that these guys do have access to the players in the dressing room, and they still don't get it. Where is the grit on that team? The grit on that team is in Brendan Gallagher. The grit on that team is in Josh Anderson. The grit on that team is in Jake Evans. The grit on that team is in Arbor Jacki. The grit on that team is in Jaden Struble. There's all kinds of grit on that team. What are you looking for? And again, I mean, if you want to talk about guys who go balls to the wall, and I mean, like what's the problem? Like is Brendan Gallagher not gritty and desperate and urgent enough for you? is Jake Evans not been to your liking? Like, again, I'm very hesitant to call into question the integrity of pro hockey players. No, I'm not saying that you're basing your opinion on the media, Luke. What I'm saying is that you're using the same catchphrases and the same terminology that a lot of the media does, right? And again, you're calling into question, essentially the integrity of these professional athletes. And if we're being honest, none of us has the information in order to accurately do that, right? Like, and again, even take it another step forward. Like, look at Patrick Laine, right? Everybody said that he was a lazy hockey player and he was a bum, right? There's a guy with all the talent in the world and he doesn't look like he's even trying. Well, now we know, years later, that the guy was struggling and suffering from really significant mental health problems. So again, even when it does appear that a player isn't trying or putting in the urgent effort that you would like, maybe there's stuff going on in their life. I don't think it's fair as fans who watch this team on TV. Maybe we go to an odd game live or whatever, but I don't think it's fair based on that limited exposure to question the effort and the integrity and the contribution that these guys are putting forward to the team. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair at all. Because realistically, there's no way you could, like, it'd be like me going to following you around tomorrow and just watching you from 25 meters away and making a judgment on your mental state and on what you're thinking and what you're it doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to be about a good time to shut it down. That's a really long show for us tonight. We went longer than we typically do. Again, if you're over on TikTok, I invite you to come on over. The purpose of the TikTok live is to let you know that we are live on YouTube. The show is Habs After Dark. The channel is Recliner Sports 4. If you want to engage in the conversation, come on over, subscribe, join the channel, join the live, get in the comment section, and let us know what your questions are. We're happy to chat. We're happy to have a conversation. Come on over and do it over here. Unfortunately, we're not going to be doing any more TikTok lives. I did go on briefly this afternoon on TikTok just to check out and see who was around and invite you guys to come by to the live tonight. We will be live again tomorrow night after the game. I'm probably not going to be live on Saturday night. Actually, it's Saturday afternoon, so maybe I will actually be able to go live on Saturday. We'll see. It's going to be tight. I got something else going on, so I may not be able to do it. But we do this show every night. Merci beaucoup, Luc. Bonsoir. C'était une bonne conversation. J'apprécie beaucoup tes opinions et j'aimerais bien que tu reviendrais à la prochaine fois. It was really nice to meet you, Luke. Thank you for coming. It was a great conversation. I appreciate it. Same to you, Andre. But yeah, we're going to shut it down here, guys. I appreciate it. Like I said, we go live every night, every Montreal Canadiens game, 15 minutes after the final horn. We try and get on the air by then. The show is Habs After Dark. Come on by, check it out. If you are here live and you're not subscribed, I ask that you please do so. We do really appreciate it. It does help us that you subscribe. If you're watching in a replay, it also really helps. If you're enjoying the content, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, but most importantly, make sure that you subscribe. Like I said, only 35% of you are actually subscribed to the channel. And it really, it would be really great if you would subscribe so that we can work our way towards that magical 500 subscriber number and then move on from there. We've been on here for about a month and a half. We've been trying to give good content. I think things are getting better. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable on here. I'm getting a little bit better at, dealing with the graphics and the overlays and all of that good stuff. We got the Habs After Dark logo here. We got this over here. Sorry, it's all backwards. Anyways, we got our microphone going. Our microphone's working. Everything's cool with that. I just uploaded some new software, which I'm using, which I think is better than the OBS. I was using OBS before. Now I'm using Ecamm. So yeah, all of that good stuff. I do appreciate everybody. It was a great conversation tonight. We had some really good comments. We had some good people in here, good content. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, like I said, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, but most importantly, whether you're here live or whether you're watching in a replay later on, please subscribe. It really does help us. Yeah, this is awesome. Montreal Canadiens, 3-2 loss in overtime to the Utah Hockey Club. Unfortunate result. Bit of a head scratcher a little bit for Montreal. I don't think they played terribly, but there's certainly aspects of the game that certainly didn't live up to expectation. They will get an opportunity tomorrow night in Columbus to get back on track and to start moving things forward towards where they're trying to get to. I look forward to that. I look forward to watching the game, and most importantly, I look forward to seeing all of you back here tomorrow evening. Like I said, 15 minutes after the final horn, we will be live with another episode of Habs After Dark. I really hope you can make it, and I look forward to seeing you. If you're over there on TikTok, same thing. If you're interested, tomorrow night, Habs After Dark, we will be live right after the game. Come on over. Check it out. If you enjoy it, that's great. But yeah, we will see you in the next one. We will see you tomorrow night, and it's been great. I appreciate everybody, and peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, docks to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.